Hello friends, we're back with the Chris and Ryan show. Today we're joined by Allan McDougall, aka Big Al. Allan is a small town man who's went on to become a successful businessman, bodybuilder, martial arts expert, bodyguard to celebrities and royalty, philosopher and life coach. With Cambridge, Harvard and Stanford courses under his belt, this man knows his stuff.
Today we talk about living life without regret, running security for one of the biggest award shows on the planet, and the importance of controlling your environment. This is the Chris and Ryan show.
How's it going?
Good, thanks, lads. Nice to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, good. Well, we'll just crack right into it. So I think that we'll just try and get a bit of background about you.
Okay.
And we'll probably just start with early years, how it all started for you.
Early years. Well, I was born just outside Glasgow in Alexandria, and I was raised in a tiny small town called McDougall, which is up in the west coast of Scotland, in Argyll. So I stayed there up until I finished high school, and then packed my bags and headed for the big bag city.
Right. What was family life like growing up?
It was good. It was good. Small town. Everybody knew everybody. Busy. You know, this little like your pals, like I said, from start to finish. You know, from primary right through to secondary. So, yeah, it was good. Different. You know, a lot of hills and glens. So you had to create your own entertainment. Not the buzz of the big city, which I always wanted to come and experience.
And what about school life? What was that like?
School life was good, like anywhere else, you know. Starts off strong and a few issues in between, as a lot of folk tend to have, and then it finished off good. I actually got head boy in the end, so it did turn out all right. To everyone's surprise, mostly mine.
So, the first job then was doorman, wasn't it, when you were 16?
Yeah, well, actually, what started, which was unusual, the local discotheque, which used to have maybe a 30-mile radius for people coming from all the different towns, etc. to it. So it was a busy place. It was called the Argyll Hotel, and it was in the main street. So I started working here when I was 16 at weekends to help out.
And what year was this?
That would have been 1996.
Right.
Well,
what time would be a doorman as well? Middle of the 90s?
Mid-90s.
Mid-90s, yeah.
I had flowing hair back then and everything. It was great. Used to gel before I went out. So it was good. But it was obviously just to help out. And ironically, you're trying to sometimes spot underagers. That was your purpose as well as other things, which is ironic because you're at the same school as these people. So it caused a few issues in school, knocking back your pals or knocking back some of the teachers or chatting to them when they're unsocialised. Not cool. Would not recommend that. Would not recommend that. But it was different. It gave me my first taste of something. I'd watched the film Roadhouse and I thought, I want to be part of this.
So that was where the inspiration came from.
I thought it was a cooler, but it's something I always enjoyed. And then obviously when I moved to Edinburgh, it was something that it was just a natural choice for me to go into. I wouldn't have been a very good waiter, I don't think.
How did that start when you were in the town you were in, like your first job?
It starts ironically because we just, again, folk knowing each other, and I play the drums and percussion and done it for the musical society, and one of the chaps was owner of the hotel, so it just started for a reason. Yeah, employed me to try and get rid of the underage or the sort of little rascals that were coming in, which I was at school with, and I suppose it was one. So it was quite funny.
What was the entry age at this point? Was it still 18?
Yeah, it was still 18.
It's still 18. So employ the underage to spot the underage.
Yeah. Got to poach your turn gamekeeper, but obviously it's half your friend, so it doesn't work, you know.
We've been on for 5 minutes. That's a highlight already for me. when you're 16 years old knocking back 18-year-olds. That's brilliant.
30-year-olds and the rest of stuff.
Sorry, mate, not tonight.
Yeah. Like I said, and teachers, I can tell you, do not appreciate getting spoken to when they're out socialising. It doesn't work well.
But that must have felt good though, because as well, maybe for me that would have felt good. You know, when you're in school and you're just saying, no, can't get in.
Well, I quite enjoyed it. I thought it was like a sort of Stifler's mom type approach to some of these women, so I quite enjoyed going up and chatting to them and attempting to, but Patter's not that good back then.
We had a funny story with one of our maths teachers. They got a photo taken in, I think it was Mood at this point.
Yeah.
Women sitting on top of them, sweating, hands where they shouldn't be. Photo went right around the whole school. Yeah, our maths teacher. If any teachers are listening, don't do it. It's not worth it.
I don't think it'd be allowed now. I think just in particular small towns you could get away with things, but because you're a big guy and some reasonable banter, obviously. But it was a unique situation, but some good fun as well at times. Some good fun, you know.
You're obviously a big guy. Have you always been Like, has that always been like who you are? If you know what I mean, that kind of size. Is it?
Even the headmaster used to call me Big Al, which I thought was funny back at the time.
How did that name come about? Where did that start?
Well, that's a different story. But it was it was always good. And I used to enjoy weights. And actually, whenever the physics teacher at the school came, and he was a great chap called Mr. Lemon, he actually was from Edinburgh and used to be a doorman. So we ended up, we were training with him, another chap, but I was about 13, 14, but was just strong and loved getting into the weights and watched pumping iron and wanted to do bodybuilding, which led me later on in life to compete in the bodybuilding shows and to take it really serious and live that sort of lifestyle for a bit.
Yeah.
But it was good. So we used to train in our lunch times and get into it and just put on a bit more size, and it was good. Shot put at school, classic West Coast country stuff, tossing cables and fighting bulls. No, I'm just joking. But it was good, and it just went hand in hand. Always loved the physical stuff, and again, taking into even the martial arts and different things, which later on I'd compete in. It was just something I really enjoyed.
Yeah. So how long did you work as a doorman at that? Was it a hotel or was it?
Yeah, it was a hotel. It's a
hotel.
Not a nightclub in a small town. It was just a hotel, and it used to be. It was like every Saturday, so just worked it for a bit. I had other jobs at the time during the summers and things, and it was just something that it just lasted just a couple of months, And
then what did that lead on to next?
That was it. I was still, again, small town. You work for the local building company, junior summer holidays, the co-op, all the basics. I mean, that's it, because you're still at school, obviously, and that was that kept us going, until after I left. I was at the co-op stuff, but it was good. It was good fun. And that time working 3 jobs, but you've got to do something to amuse yourself in the small town. So that was good.
So the next big bit was moving to Edinburgh, then, wasn't it?
It was a big move. Yeah, it was.
What age were you when you
came to Edinburgh? When I was 17. I was just about to turn 18 in October, and I came through. So originally I was wanting my career to be an army officer. That's what I would like to have gone for, and was trying for. And then my university grades came in, which were the exceptions level. So I thought I'll come to Edinburgh and do my degree. So that's what I done. Packed my bags and arrived with a box of supplies, not much money in the bank, and ready for action.
Yeah,
and blonde hair at the time. Blonde hair.
Get the hair in. Whereabout was it you studied, and what did you study?
I studied at Napier University, and it was a degree in communications. So yeah, it was excellent. It covered a lot of media, marketing, quite a broad-based degree. So thoroughly enjoyed it. Some great people, and at the old Craig House campus, that was the main place that was there. So obviously, when I came to do that, and then it was for studying to pay my way through university, I just went back into security and started it properly, and that was it. Never stopped since.
Where was the first place that you started that?
My first store was
in Edinburgh, obviously.
Yes, of course. My first store was, I worked for a company called Rocksteady, and it was the Jekyll and Hyde, which is on Hanover Street, which I'd heard about. Again, all these small town, you're in a small town and you hear about these places, but you want to go and experience. It was Jekyll and Hyde. It had toilet doors in the bookcase that were hidden, so it's all different eerie cocktails, and it was just fantastic. It was a busy place. It was really busy. There was fewer pubs back then, obviously, and fewer clubs. So
what year is this?
That would be 1998.
1998.
What is the Jekyll and Hyde now? Is it still a venue?
The Hanover Tap, I believe it's called.
Hanover Tap, yeah.
It used to have skeletons and like Draculas, and it was a lot different.
I remember it. I remember it had like fire outside of it. There was a little fire thing.
That's right.
It was black. Yeah,
that was outside. Pub. There was a few other places similar to that in Edinburgh. They're the same sort of chain, but they were great. It was good fun. A different era, obviously. But
sort of goes with the whole theme of Edinburgh being sort of medieval.
It was gothic. You didn't have style bars weren't really were about to burst onto the scene, but that wasn't the case then, But they were good, some good fun and good student places. So it was a good door, and I ended up working 5 nights a week there.
5 nights a week and studying at the
same time. Which is something I continued right through, which might have answered some of my poor essays and work getting back at times, and arriving into some of my lectures with black eyes and different things, a different kind of job, and trying to justify that where had you been, why you were late for certain things, but that was just part of the course.
What was it like for people that don't know, like what Edinburgh was like from a club point of view, and just like as that kind of lifestyle in the late 90s?
There was busy. It's a lot more. The place, a lot fewer places. And sort of, like I said, not up to this, not different than style bars and these beautiful bars that we're in now. I say it was a lot different. Folk were out busy. The student vibe all stood to one side of town, like the Cowgate and Grass Market. the different clubs, the sort of the older, it was like a very much the student era, and then those over 25s and the sort of normal people, if you like, as they refer to then. You know, Edinburgh's student population wasn't as vast as what it is now. So it's such a student, you know, heavy majority city. So it was a lot different. And I would say probably at times a lot more violent as well before kicking the night. It's more rascals kicking about.
Yeah. The rascals.
You know, a lot more rascals kicking about and yeah.
In terms of students or just older people?
No, I would say older people. The student demographic they were always busy in the places they sort of stuck to. And like any venue, and you know, you deal with your fair share of rascals, let's say, but sometimes more hardcore. You earned your small wages a lot of the time, you know. You earned it. But just thankfully it's progressed a lot since then.
I suppose you must have learnt a lot. Like
yes, of course. You know, you learn the people, some great people you work with. Some people aren't so good. It's all about, you know, as you grow up, you know, you learn your own set of skills plus your own, you know, idea of what's good for like customer service and how you'll deal with your own particular situations, and then you keep that going and build up on that, you know, throughout your career, and just implement certain changes and certain pieces the way you do, you know. I'm not one for being governed by other people. I like to, you know, work in my own system. Just because someone says this is how I've done it for 20 years doesn't mean I agree with that. And I always had to change that whenever I could. And then I've done that, resulting in where we are now, where, you know, it's all so much, especially nowadays, customer service based, and how you can drive your business forward, because that's what people want. Everyone, especially in a social media age, when someone can type something up and write a review that's bad, you know, you can't get away from it. If being rude to somebody now on the door, or if someone comes in and one of your staff is the same, you just can't get away with it now, you know. People expect a high level of service, and folk are very opinionated and not afraid to say it, whereas back then maybe it was slightly different. You didn't have the voice, you know, people didn't have the voice. So just, I think, completely refining your methods all the time, I think, is essential.
And that's what a growth mindset from the get-go.
Yes.
Always looking to change and progress. Of
course, and just make it better and be the best in your field, and try and be the best you can possibly, the best version of yourself, and be the best you can possibly be by implementing these changes, you know. And it's not always easy, and it might lead you to fall out with many people, some of your close friends or allies or staff or, you know, members of the public. They might come to that, but that's in order to succeed and endure, you've got to implement these changes and continue to do so, and constantly refine, you know, constantly learning, from studying, from listening to reading reviews to going on courses, or, you know, which I enjoy. So you've got to do, you continue refining your methods.
And where did that come from, that mindset? Like, how does, you know, how do you just become, you know, get into that mindset where you're constantly thinking about improving stuff and
when I put it back to it, because I'm from such a small place, I always wanted to think big. You know, and watching these programs and movies and seeing what these people had, you want to try and push forward to achieve that, you know. So you had your imagination roaming the hills and glens at times. Yeah. That's all you had. Imagination roaming the glens. So it's funny there to then come back and later on be working with these individuals and working with the celebrities you've watched on TV and guiding them, because you've come to, because you've still got to be personable. You know, you still got to be, you know, be human. So it's, you know, I'm always appreciative of what I have, you know, never take anything for granted, and that causes you to strive more, you know. So you're always thankful and blessed for what you can achieve, you know. And it's not easy, but again, always, like I said, continue to be the best, and just pushing that a bit further, and maybe not being content, going, no, I want to take it a bit further. I want to get that contract, or I want to try and build the business up a bit more, or get this people involved, or poach this person. Yes, of course. So if you don't, you just stay stagnant, and it's easy. Some people are comfortable doing that, and other people get itchy feet and have to crack on. And I'm definitely the latter.
Yeah, itchy feet, man. So, we're moving forward into the time when you graduated, if that's right, and there was different jobs on the go, probably in the early 2000s.
That's right. Pardon me. So even for graduation, we worked for some of the bigger nightclubs kicking. A famous one, Benidorm and Elite, that later on we worked. It was again somebody I used to watch on TV. It was Jeff Capes, World's Strongest Man. So we worked for him, you know. And at that stage, when there was a few changes, the door became one of the youngest head doormen, I think, in the country, running a big team of people, you know, which was, you know, it's still at university, doing your university work and then still filling in timesheets and things and trying to do rotas and that. But again, you look back now and they were great times, you know, especially in current times. You think how busy these places were and the laughs that you had, and again, some of the artists that you met. But I enjoyed it, you know, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And that pinballed and launched a lot of different clubs, and especially in the club scene forgetting just now, but a lot of places that aren't there anymore. Like Mood, when Mood first launched at the Omni Centre, we launched that, you know, and you think now it's a restaurant, but so many of these places have changed and died away, you know, working at Revolution and Lothian Road, but different places. And then also working, it was for an English company that I ran, pardon me, and it was based into the style bars. It was Bar 38, place like Edwards, you know, they were really, you know, really up and coming. And Bar 38 was probably one of the, you know, a place that came in. It changed for me. It was just a totally different, less of the clubs, more a high end venue with really strict entry and procedures and dress codes, and yeah, it was quite a bit different. But just catapulted back and forth. This tends to be with anything. Everyone wants to go to the new places, so go to the new clubs, go to the new venues. Everybody wants to work where's current, you know, and that changes. And back then there was just loads of places opening and closing, so it was good with some good tales in between.
And what age were you at this point?
Back then I was still in my early 20s.
So uni, running all these doors, staff rotas, head doorman.
That was it, yeah.
Early 20s.
I was 20, then 21. Always. And back then it was a funny joke, so I always used to pretend I was older because folk thought you were a bit older because you looked at. And one of my friends commented once, he said, "Allan, this is your third time I've been at your 25th birthday." He goes, and they stopped asking how old you are. He goes, "Oh, we don't know." Well, we'll come anyway, we have no idea. So it's a bit banter because you want to, it's the profile at the time, and now I'm trying to subtract years off myself, you know, but it's different. But it's good.
No, good. So the next point kind of leads on to Monty's in this 2003 era where things started to change. And
well, it was an excellent. We just I came to Montpellier and in the end began a head home at the Opal Lounge, which was, you know, just a phenomenal place. And it was just so, I would probably say it was one of the, it wasn't just Scotland. I always honestly felt in the UK it was where everybody wanted to attend. Yeah. So ahead of its time and so busy, you know. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a big team and it was just cutting edge. It was great. And for me, I just enjoyed the level of people, you know. There was all sorts from students to Hollywood A-listers that were attending. You never knew in certain nights who could attend because everybody wanted to attend there. Some phenomenal experiences in there, which one of the things is, you know, would probably culminate in, there was the MTV Awards, you know, which was a milestone. It really was. For me, as again, as we talked about progression, for me as a security individual and then raising my game up to a level and just having proven to myself and telling us that I could work in such a huge scale, you know.
And see, we'll talk about the MTV thing, but just for those who don't know who Montpelliers are, who are, you know, Montpelliers?
Montpelliers are a pub, you know, bar, a restaurant, a hotel chain based in Edinburgh, you know, who I would say are, in my opinion, you know, the best operators, unbiased, but the best operators in the country by far. I think the level of, you know, their design concepts, their innovative nights, just always one step ahead of everybody else, I always feel. And as a result in some of the best staff training as well. So the staff retention they have, the individuals working for them, it's just they're a fantastic company. And we just gelled straight away. Yeah,
the venues have got there's a couple, isn't there?
Yeah, you've got Indigo Yard, your Candy Bar, you've got Montpelliers up in Bruntsfield, you've got Tiger Lily, where we're currently sitting, you've got Lulu, the nightclub, you've got East Side, and you've got the Rabble as well, which used to be Rick's, which is on Frederick Street. So, you know, they're just city centre based, but very much a sort of local style where everybody can come in. Like I said, it doesn't matter if could be from a student to a local man coming for a pint to having a fabulous, ostentatious dinner. You know, it's just, it caters for everybody.
or a hen party.
Yes, that too. Yes, that too.
So yeah, that's Montpelliers, and then this is 2003, and then East Side, which was Opal Lounge before, and then we're now talking about the MTV Awards that were at Opal Lounge, and this was in 2003, wasn't it?
That was 2003, just before October. I can't remember. My memory's certainly sketchy, but yeah, it was that came up in the prep was. So MTV, obviously Edinburgh was hosting the MTV Awards, you know, which was based in Ocean Terminal, and Opal Lounge was going to be the main after show party for Sony BMG, their record label. So all the artists obviously have to obliged to come and attend it afterwards. So the prep, the Opal Lounge was totally transformed by its theme, everything else inside. It was like an Asian Japanese type theme. It was so impressive with a guest list that was so strict, and you know, it was something of a different level. And that was my first major test, which is obviously the biggest one to do. So we had to work. So I mean, the celebrities then go through after, but the prep that went into it was enormous. We sat down with the meetings with, it was the head of, well, Sony BMG, you know, the owners of Montpellier's, several different security people.
And this is you in your early 20s
This is
as
me,
well.
yes. So at first they didn't, the women who, you know, the name is, who's on the bosses, didn't really want me sitting there because you had operatives from all different companies, and because obviously it's such a major event with such a dealing with police, there was so many things and factors to consider. But by the end, although she didn't want to talk to us initially, after I'd written my plan and put the stuff into play, I ended up sitting right beside her, and she, you know, asked me over, you know, come tap the chair and says, you come and sit beside me. This is what we'll do. And it was excellent, you know. And
who is this?
That was her name eludes me. We'll call her Suzanne for now, but she was the head of, you know, Sony BMG and the organizer of the event, you know. So we had to compile it with the paperwork, which we had to put together, and it's the forward planning for it. Yeah. But, you know, it was it's something that I was later on told that she was going to use for all her formats. So I designed it, put it in place for everything from alerts, forward operating plans to, you know, call signs to just zones, to just everything you could possibly put into a package, so we're all covered for every angle and every eventuality. And yeah, she said that's what they used for Sony BMG. Afterwards, for other events, she was that happy how well it had been done, which there's no greater praise, you know, on that night. It was fantastic, you know, and a real taxing, but again, just being confident in what you do and having faith, you know, and no self-doubt. So it worked great.
So what about the actual night when this all happened? Like, who was all there and how the night ran and stuff like that? And the
night was great. It was funny because, you know, we had, you know, Justin Timberlake, we had Pink, we had Dido, the Black Eyed Peas, Shirley Manson, Bo Selector, you had Rio Ferdinand, we had so many different people with the guest list marked from Take That. There was so many. It was so exclusive that, you know, everyone's phone were ringing off the hook for people trying to get access into it. But it was so tight. And outside, we put a big team on, obviously, because you've got to prepare for outside areas, press, you know, for any safety or threat assessments or risks you might have. We covered every eventuality. And then we didn't expect that many people to be out the front of the venue. So we put a couple of barriers. And there's a couple of police that were helping. And by the end, midway through the evening, I think there was a few thousand folk outside and about 40 police linked arm in arm and going, I think we might have got that slightly wrong, you know, with our one barrier, you know, covering it. It was a laugh. And I'll always remember it was the crowd, the massive crowd in the street, coming just from the turn off of Frederick Street, and 5 back Escalade, big kind of Escalades, came along, and it was this enormous minder for a Justin Timberlake, not his bodyguard, but his minder. He must have been about 7 feet tall. Walked out with a giant walking stick and sort of cleared a path for the Escalade so that we can get them in the front of the building. And it was impressive. I thought, incredible. Wow, this is great fun. You know, I need to try and get in a picture. What have you got? Try and fame, but it went by so quickly once everybody was in. But you know, you're looking after front doors and back doors, and it was constant. But it was such a buzz to be on the stage, and it was great to experience it with a lot of my colleagues as well, door staff who I still work with now, and it was just such a great night. You know, you've got Black Eyed Peas dancing with Justin Timberlake on the dance floor at Opal Lounge, you know, and Pink, you know, and Christina Aguilera getting food at the back, you know, she came in and she's at the back venue and not in the best of moods, you know. But folk are try to eat my chicken and rice that I left in the kitchen because she didn't like something else. It was so funny, you know. It was so random. Which I gave her, obviously, you know, but it was just a great. It was a great night.
Pink get your chicken and rice.
No, Christina Aguilera.
Christina Aguilera. You know. Big Al's chicken and rice.
I know, but it's normally that a big issue. But if you've seen the size of the minder, man, you could just have it. You know, I was quite happy to give it to them.
No problem. You have that chicken and rice.
But it's six. But again, you know, you're watching these people on TV. And then you're the one looking after them and doing, you know, effectively, once they've got their own teams now, the venue's your responsibility, and they're dependent on you to make sure everything's covered and everything, you know, and they're protected so they can go about their business. You know, that's your job, you know, or mine. Which, for much you see a couple of the small things that people think you do, there's so much goes behind the scenes in the prep for it. You know, to make sure you know no matter what gets said or done, you know how to react to it, and then you can brief your staff accordingly and make sure everybody's safe. And the night runs smoothly. And it did, and it was such an adrenaline rush, you know, at the end of it. I think I slept well that night after.
Yeah, I think that's interesting how the planning of that event, like how much planning actually went into putting, I know you explained briefly, but how much you know, what was the actual planning that went into it?
Well, you're talking because the brief changes accordingly. So one minute they might, what we're going to do is this, then the plan for the night, the running order might change, and these things are constantly changed. But you've got to just ensure the building, you know, your building's secure and basic drills, but the building's secure, where they're going to position people, where they can exit, where they can enter, what if there's any threats, what if there's bomb threats, which we had 2 that night. You know, we had 2 bomb threats. What if someone's have an incident at the front door? If there's a crowd sus, if someone's injured inside, outside, if someone has any medical emergencies, what way are they going out? You know, because you've got so much activity in the area. You know, you've got to make sure areas are cleared. Police, paparazzi. You've got to make sure that you're working with the police to make sure, because they've obviously got the roads, they've got public safety. So you've got to try and gel everything together, make sure every area is clear, and you're not just dealing with one celebrity. You're dealing with several. So they've got their own teams and their own way of doing it. So if something happens, everyone wants to pile out. So you need to make sure everything's done and managed in the proper way, you know. And your staff are attentive, your staff are doing their job properly. So everyone's working together in comms and keeping links the front, the outside with inside, you know. So it's constant. So they prep those at any time, you know. Yes, that area is clear. Yes, that fire door's been checked. Yes, there's nobody outside exits has been checked. You know, so there's no problems. All you offer is solutions, and that's what the key is. And you've got it all to manage. So every snippet, every crackle you hear, that's the stressful part. Music's banging inside. What was that? Need to see, go and check. But that's it, just constantly on your toes.
Yeah, you need to be sharp for that. Especially managing it, not even just being part of it, but managing.
Because it's your responsibility ultimately, you know, whatever you do, because it's, you know, it's your job to make sure everything runs well. So that's where the pressure is. But again, I thrive on that. That's what I thrive on. That's where the adrenaline comes from, because it's the reward, you know. Because if you can pull it off, make sure everything's doing successfully, that's where you get your buzz from. And I think in terms of business, it's the same. If you push for whatever, be a contract or, you know, your particular trainer trying to get to a certain level, or with anything you do in life, with sports or any activities, you achieve a level. It gives you a great sense of satisfaction because you've got there. You know, it's not been handed. You know, you have to earn it and create it. You know, many folk can talk the talk, I suppose, but when these events come, the proof's in the pudding. Someone asks you a question, you'll be able to answer it, you know, and have faith in what you're doing, not just give an answer and then it turns out to be nonsense, you know, and that's the difference. So
that night went well.
It was excellent. Well, I'm still here. I've got a picture with Pink, and that was it.
So that kind of, well, maybe not in terms of timeline, but leads on to the private security stuff and, you know, doing stuff for the likes of George Clooney or royalty and all that kind of stuff.
Again, so what happens with such things is you're working with different teams and they come across, but it just comes back to the same planning. You're getting a brief from people, if they're coming to Tiger, the unit they're in, and you've got to work with the people that are your staff again, so they can come in and do their job, and you're doing exactly the same thing. So they come in, they know the venue's secure, you've got your exits, all your standard protocols are done, but everything's going to flow. So if there's a situation, you can deal with it and it can be handled quickly, because as well, there's so much press watching as well. The last thing anybody wants is an incident to happen in a venue, or you know, outside or inside a venue, when you're on watch with people and then everyone films it, because they'll always remember that bad point. You know, a lot of folk might not get the praise that you've got. You might see two bodyguards or CP guys, close protection, and then you've got the other security folk, you know, forming some sort of square around them or in the venue. But there's maybe another 10, 15 security that are out in cars outside, checking exits, checking entrances, having a car that's nearby to get them away, just in case that car might be busy. You've got to have so many different plans you've got to have in action. So again, it's the pressure, but the reward is excellent, because once again, and George Clooney was excellent. He was a lovely guy, everyone can attest. And in fact, he was in Tiger for his dinner, which is an excellent. Everyone had a really good laugh. George Clooney, and a good buzz, and a lot of folk had good pictures with him, and it was great to see that, because some celebrities like to integrate really well, and others don't so much. But it's great when you've got the opportunities to spend time with them, you know, and have a laugh with them, and, you know, talk. So in terms of, it was Caprice, you know, the supermodel, she was done it. It was an event in Opal Lounge, and I was looking after, you know, extensively, and it was just funny to be driving. We drove about in my friend's big Bentley, which was a nice big car that I thought I broke at one stage. Not good. But then it was driving to Glasgow, and then we pulled into the, you know, she told me to pull into the service station so she'd get munchies, and I like things like that. It's just that normal stuff. And she, you know, she wrote a letter from my mum, you know, just to say hi Big Al's mum. So you love it, you know, they're all personal people, so it's nice to get that banter, because these are people you used to read and have pin-ups with when you're younger, you know. So I like that. And certainly the later one was Leonardo DiCaprio, you know, that was really good and interesting, working with him and his friends that were across, because it wasn't just obviously Leonardo, but his two friends were three friends were all in the Entourage, the series, and some other. Lance had been in several other films also. So it's good to talk to them, and like we ended up having a banter. I had them in the back of my car and ended up at an afters party, for a few. I wasn't drinking, but it was good fun and they're having a laugh. So again, you're talking about people that as a person in a small town in the west coast of Scotland, you're watching them on TV, and you're sitting with them in the car, chatting to them as if it's us guys going for a coffee or a beer, and that's what I love about it, That's what I love.
Leonardo DiCaprio to an afters.
He actually didn't come at the afters, to be fair, but the rest of them did. So it was funny, but a good banter, a great banter. And it's the same, if you can apply that, not everybody's going to be like that, but it's nice. And again, it's how you're personable with people and how you react with people that they want to feel secure. And, there's still always different types of, your CP stuff, but or looking after security. But if you can go on with them at that level and everything's contained, again, if you're taking them to places, you make sure that you've done your homework and everything so you can have a safe night, You wouldn't go into somewhere that's going to have any issues or you can't control the outcome, So that's really important. But it's just great. And sometimes you think you forget who you're actually meeting until you're watching the TV and go, I've seen him on TV. I've sat with him or I've had a juice with him.
I was with him on Saturday.
That's it. You've had, and over the years, how many people you've actually met and had these, had these experiences with. So it's good,
Yeah. I thought it was interesting what you said to me before about how it's important to be controlling your environment. And I think that's an important thing that a lot of people could probably benefit from. Not even from because I know this is all about your career and security, but even just for anybody. You know what I mean? I think that's quite an important point,
Of course, I think, it's hard not to reflect on the current, pandemic and the issues and the dramas that's been causing for everybody. But you've got to surround yourself and create an environment in the sense that if, you want to have positive people around about you, don't want a lot of negative energy to put on. You want to have something that's going to inspire you to come on, and it's going to make you achieve these things. You want something that's, going to enable that, You're going to have different folk, especially now, I think. It's really, you don't ever let anybody else deter you from where you want to be. You've got to create the scene. No one's going to do it for you. You'll be judged on your actions, not anybody else's. So you've got to, don't lose faith in that, I think, because a lot of times you'll try and push on and be kicked to the curb. We've all had it, me several times. You've got to rebuild everything from scratch. But that's the nature of the game. If you're hungry for it, and that's you've got to strive for it, but not to be deterred by any, not so much bad advice, but anybody putting down it, remove yourself from that. Don't ever stay true and stay focused to be the best version that you can possibly be of yourself, and feel proud to try it. That's half the battle, is that because you lose it, and we've all done it, it's not until you make mistakes or things go for an absolute button, you go, right, and then I'll refine, like we said earlier, and I'll come back, and this is what I'll do to make it a bit better. Hungrier than ever, I'll not be deterred. Yeah. And that's the difference with, you guys sitting here, or me, you've got to, otherwise it's easy to go, I'll just leave it now and sidestep. Yeah. But why, if it's what you want to do, Yeah. So I think you've got to follow your passion. Yeah. It's really easy to do that and put it off rather than going, do you know what, I'll just crack on with it now. No one likes studying for ages and hours at a time, but it's worth it when you can get the benefit from the rewards of it. Just like training, just like anything else that you go and apply yourself to do. It's that practice, and then it's worth it in the end. Definitely.
I like the amount of effort you were talking about putting into the planning of these things, and it sort of goes for everyday life, is having an actual plan in place for the future. And how you want to take where you want to go is so important as well. And I can imagine you've had something like that in your life, is knowing sort of, I know I want to put in a plan in place to take you forward and take you up to where you want to be.
Definitely, and plans can change. I mean, you go for it and you push, and that plan might not work. That road might be a dead end. It's just staying true to that goal and going, well, I'm not happy with this. So if you're not happy, the only person that can change it is you. Might be going to take that, walk outside when you can't be bothered. It might be going to train. It might be anything. You've got to, like I said, you've got to have, if you've got your vision, then stick to it and push on, and not be disheartened by comments or by criticism, and in fact embrace it and take it, because better to have tried, than not have tried at all. You've got to push forward, and that's my plan. Again, try and refine it into how can, and I think that's half the buzz for me. It's almost like a Del Boy and Rodney scenario sometimes. You've got to push for it. It's the taking part. You might try for 5 or 6 things, and only one might come off. But see the buzz you get from that is great. But before that one thing comes off, you've got 5 or 6 other things to go. And that's the energy I like. That's what I enjoy in talking to people and trying, and sort of motivating people in that way if possible. And I take it as well because I love watching other people and get a buzz of their energy. No one sits to just one particular thing. I like to cast the net wide and go, let's have a shot of that. Let's have a shot. And that's what we do. I mean, I'm trying it now. We're launching like a gym style clothing range called Lion Share. So that's hopefully going to be coming out the next month or two, just when things ease off a bit, and to push on as well as some of the other training stuff that I'll be doing, more a personal bespoke stuff. So you've just got to try something because it keeps you going, I think, and I enjoy that. Enjoy the diversity of it, and push our security business further than it's ever been, because I truly believe that when things do, unlock a bit, after this pandemic and things do start to open, I think we'll all have a boom period because everyone that's missed going out and enjoying themselves for a part will be back out again. And folk will never take it for granted again, coming down to your local pub or meeting your friend or a loved one for a drink or a juice or some food, Again, you'll never take it for granted. And I think that's good, and I think collectively 2021 could be a great year. Fingers crossed anyway, get everything sorted. That's what
No, I'm definitely looking forward to getting a pink gin. But I think the big thing, what you're talking about, and I feel like we've got a similar mindset on it, is like when you want to do something, I'm like, and I know for some people it's not always possible, but when I want to do something, rather than saying I'm going to start tomorrow, I want to start today, if you know what I mean. Because I feel like for me, there's no time to waste, if you know what I mean. And if you're going to do something, you might as well start, as soon as you can. So I think that's a really valid point. But yeah, I think the celebrity thing then leads on to 2006 in South Africa.
Yeah,
that whole thing came about.
That was
shenanigans.
Good. The rascals everywhere. No, that was a great trip. I mean,
how did that come about?
I wanted a holiday, something different. So one of the Montpellier's managers that worked here, he had his 2 brothers. He had a bar across in Cape Town. So I thought, do you know what? I'll jump across and see what's happening, And I thought that could be cool. I've never been there before. And so I thought we'll go on an adventure. So I went, and I hadn't really researched much, but a few of my other friends had been there, so it's cool. So we ended up going across there, and bit by bit, I ended up working on the door, which isn't normally allowed across there. So without going into too much detail, they had to speak to a local mafia almost boss that ran all the doors, and put somebody, and ask if it was okay, what to do. It was they paid protection money as such. And I was the only white person working the entire strip. So I stood out quite a bit, considering I was white and Scottish, which wasn't the normal. So, I mean, to condense that trip there, it's different because everyone carries guns in South Africa. Machine guns and club doors. Doormen carry pistols, firearms, and so many folk are armed, kicking about. So the first incident I had where a guy came in to use the bathroom, he must have been about 15, and he walked over and he had like a white vest on and a shirt, and I said, I want to use the toilet. I said, sorry, just for patrons only. He said, because I want to use the toilet. I said, sorry, I can't let you in. And he's lifted up his vest and he's got a big magnum and he's hanging out his stracky trousers. So of course I let him in to use it,
No problem,
I
sir,
thought,
no problem.
I'm starting to think to myself, well, this is interesting, me coming to work here. I'm supposed to be on holiday. I don't know what's happened. And it was like, all I can say is that whole trip, which was excellent, and training with the different guys and the banter we had, but I went from great white shark diving to safari to listening to drive-by shootings at the end of the street and more weapons than you'd never see on Joss Street. So it was a crazy time. But again, you're learning, working with different people, and it just changes your mindset. And you see how severe things can, how things can really turn nasty with the rascals. But again, it's always a learning curve because there's nothing quite freshens up in the morning with magnums and machine guns when you try and get into a VIP.
Yeah.
Not somebody here with a flashing light or a UV light, someone with a Heckler & Koch MP5. But again, it's all life experiences, and I loved it. I love working there, and it kept me on my toes. And to be honest, I was quite relieved when I got back on the flight to come home. I thought, that all just happened, and it did,
And you're still in your 20s at this point as well, which is even like 26 at this point.
Aye, 26, 25, 26.
Which
like
is
Al
so...
was abroad.
Aye, sometimes it happens. You put it down to experience and go, that was lucky. But again, it's good. It's something I'm so glad I done and cracked on. It all speedball because you're good at what you do. And I said, I can sort this. And it's a natural instinct. Go on, maybe let me try this and work your cue system a bit better. And that's what we did. The place was heaving, it was good, no dramas, and it was great. So it was good on that side to help pull that off for the guys and have a great laugh in between. But you realise then that when you're good and you have confidence in your job, others take confidence from that as well. So it's the reassurance that people do. And that's what you're providing. You want somebody to go, no matter what happens, I've got this. Even at times you might go, this might not be the case, and worried. You've got to put as much prep in, because you can never plan for every eventuality. You just can't. But what's important to do is, you've got a plan in place, or try, so you've covered all the boxes you can possibly tick. There's always human error, but that's all you've got to do, and push on with it. And then folk take faith in that and confidence, and that's why they want to use you. Because you're providing something going, this. There's no point in going to somebody in our field and saying, can you do this? And they go, they panic. I don't know, because what you see to them, folk are turning to you. It could be bar staff, it could be looking after, diamonds, and it could be looking after, gold, watches, could be antiques. You don't know where multi-million-pound things are covered. Folk want to know what's happening when things go wrong. What do we do here? And that's your role. And that's where the better you are at it, the more plans you take, and when you see the bigger picture, that's when these things, that it comes, your training comes to fruition.
And what about, because I think that's an important point, confidence is in being a leader.
Yep.
And how important it is being confident. But maybe sometimes, like you say, you don't even know how it's going to pan out, but you still need to hold that confidence within you for the team around you.
Of course. Listen, let me tell you, for any person that's worked in the security fields or the doorman or anything at all, there'll be a moment that afterwards they might have gone back and go, or turned round and without swearing, I had to see this word for themselves.
We'll bleep it out, don't worry.
I've shot themselves afterwards and going, and just about collapsed, going, man, that was fruity.
Yeah.
Or it's not until afterwards you go, that could have been quite a cheeky situation, that, and it happens. And sometimes these situations do happen, and it's good. But you've got to be prepared for it, because if you're not in control, who else with? And sometimes you, in this industry, security, you're the person that they come to. So if you can't deal with it, then who's going to, then things are right. And it's just trying to preempt that when it happens. And that's, again, what's, I think, can make you, that's what makes you good at your job, or your training, whatever you're providing. If you've got something, you provide the solutions that not somebody else won't do. Because not everybody's a leader. Not everybody wants it. No one wants a responsibility. But you can't shirk it. If you're going to take the position, so I will say, you can't then turn around when things go bad and go, I don't want anything to do with it. That's the difference. And a lot of companies will, not just in this security, but in anyone in life. A lot of people are individuals, it's not for them, and they'll turn around and leave it. And that's where the person that's still standing, that can crack on and just embraces the challenge and sees it through, will reap more of the benefits, I think.
Mm-hmm. And then what about, we're talking about before about the jewellery and whatnot, or whatever it was you were looking after, diamonds and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, it's funny because, what I love as well is, you could, the variety of things that you get could be good. It could be working an event here, where you've got VIPs or people coming in, like even when the princes, back then Prince William and Harry used to frequent Opal Lounge, and you had a good banter with them, and they're walking about, so it could be that. To the next minute, we're looking after £2 million worth of diamonds, on models, which is worse things to look at, obviously, if you're trying to keep an eye. It was just the diamonds I was watching, but you're watching that, it's a gold, versus taking gigs over in like Hong Kong, where you're looking after on a skyscraper with multi-million pounds worth of antiques. It's varied, and that's what I love about it when you get in that field. And sometimes, you're taking something and it's like, a lot of people maybe turn it down, but I'm a great one sometimes and looking at it and going, let's have a shot at this. Sometimes you have to worry about afterwards how you're going to complete it and pull it off. But again, that's the thrill of it. That's it. It's so varied, and you just have to, vision it, crack on with it and give it your best shot, And that's how it works. And that's the pressure you put on yourselves, and that's what I enjoy. And that's what, you reap the rewards for and the experience.
And see, for people that are looking to be, maybe that some people want to be leaders and are looking to be that kind of person, not even like from a security point of view, but just them as a person. What tips would you say would be useful for people that are looking to progress in their own life and take it to that next level?
I think you've got to be, look at your environment round about you, always stay positive and don't be deterred, like we said earlier, from any comments or negative actions that others might have. And you take the criticism and don't be afraid to take criticism. That's one thing a lot of people can't have. They're critiqued and then they can be offensive or go in a sulk or that. You can't do that. You've got to be able to look and go, okay, and take a positive from every negative. So look at it and go, okay, that was bad. Maybe that was my fault. I'll change that round. Maybe I overreacted. Or maybe look at a system. Sometimes you've got working with colleagues and their idea is better. So look at that, don't be afraid to, I must stick just to my, embrace, listen to knowledge, get all your knowledge, gather your information, collate it, and then work out what's best, the best position for it. And look for the benefits of it. Small leadership, the rewards it brings are great because you can motivate others, and that's what you want to be doing. If you can motivate others and lead your team, it's all about empowerment, I feel. If you shout at somebody or, be angry with somebody, it's not going to necessarily bring out the best in them, because some folk will take it, some folk will fall out or argue and that kind of stuff, or some folk will do it. You want to empower people, so you're then helping them in their journey. That's what I enjoy doing. What do we do? What's your plan? Okay, so what do we need to do to make it happen? Put the emphasis back onto them. That's how you bring it forth. What's your idea? How can I help your idea? Right? What's the solution? What do you need me to do? Okay, then let's work on it together. Rather than just, I'll do this for you, because that doesn't benefit them either. Okay, I'll do that job for you. I'll just do it. They've got to experience it. And, it might, again, it's their journey. It might not always go right. Things will go wrong. It's just the nature of it, But at the end of the day, that's what's important. It's to try and taking part and being there to support them. That's it. So surround yourself with these individuals, you'll do. And sometimes you'll have different role models and mentors, and some will work, some might not work. But, stick to it. Again, just follow your vision. Don't be offset with anything else, Just stick with it and stick, and keep your motivation, and it'll be worth it in the end. Definitely. And enjoy it, and enjoy the process. Enjoy the buzz that it brings, and trying these new ventures, and trying these new, the new, what's the word? Lost my chain of thought there. I'm walking past. Try these new visions that you might have, or schemes. There's nothing to be lost by it. It's all experience. Nothing to be lost.
I suppose that's a good point. A lot of people always feel like, if I can't do this, I'm going to be a failure. But I suppose the experience is more important than...
Listen, don't fear failure, fear regret. At the end of the day, that's better to have tried it than, and crack on and fail. But failing well daring greatly, But don't leave it, then go, don't be one of them that says, I wish I'd done that.
That's a brilliant line.
I could have been that. I could have done that one time. I should have done that. And that's it, Some things go wrong, like we said, and, I fucked her up, to be honest. Yeah. But see, at the end of the day, do you regret it? I'd far rather that than the regret, going, I could have done that, should have, because then you don't know. You never test it. You can look back and refine your method and go over and analyse your behaviour and go, that was it, this is what we'll do next time. What do you take if you don't try? Yeah. It's like anything from a boxing competition. Unless you try it, you'll never know what you can do. And that's it. It's your potential. It's your journey. No one cares to just don't be one of these people that sits having regretted it all, that wishes they could have done things. And sometimes they've got great ideas and potential, but if they're unheard, somebody else will do them, That's the difference. So, yeah, you can take that quote for
That's
the
a brilliant line.
This is the thing. We spoke about this a lot. It's like death is literally, you have no idea when it's going to come. It's around the corner for all of us, regardless of what age you are. So you want to make sure you don't have all these regrets. You want to, if you want to do something, just go fucking do it. Just do it.
The only ineluctable fact of life is death, And especially, I think, more recently, with the pandemic we're in, no one would have perceived or envisioned that this is what was going to, who would be. No one could have possibly seen we're sitting in a period of lockdowns and nice lockdowns where folk are really taking stock, where folk are truly tested because we had all these things we take for granted, like we discussed earlier on. Now they're going to come out. When they come out, there's two ways of looking at it. What are you going to do? What's the difference you're going to make? And that's the whole point I'm making. When the barriers get lifted, there's never a better time to push on, right. And crack on and follow these visions, because you've just said life's short. We've just seen it, the deaths and everything else that's transpired, and the panic and the fear. You've got to push for it, because it's brought home again how short and how life is. So you've got to make the most of it. And we're back to that whole, like I said earlier, you've nothing to lose, really. For half of these things, a couple of quid now and again, but at the end of the day, don't lose by going for it and following your dreams, and trying for it. And it sounds quite cliche, but you just got to push. There's nothing to be lost, like I says. Don't fear failure. Don't fear failure.
Yeah, fear regret. That's brilliant. Yeah.
Don't fear failure.
And that's a brilliant.
We're going to soundbite that.
Yeah, really good. No, and I was thinking about the diamonds that you're talking about, all the stuff. And
I've not got any on me, Christopher. I don't have any.
And something, obviously, you've got this badge on your lapel here.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
you want to tell us what that
is? Well, it's a Masonic badge. It's the Freemasons, which I'm obviously very, very, very active with and very, very proud of. But that's all I can tell you. I can't tell anyone about it because it's a secret.
No more about it?
Because it's a secret. Thank you. That's another tale. That's another story.
Moving on from that, in about 2010 is when you started up your own security firm.
That's right.
And built that up.
Myself and my business partner, James. So we started up Securicorp. So we had different companies, not different companies, other ones, but we wanted to sort of make things combine it and make it sort of a more all-rounded, better company. So that's when we started. And again, we've never looked back, never looked back. And that's what's allowed us to do stuff from here down to London. We're happy we've got an office down there as well. So it's excellent. Again, it's places that we didn't think we'd get to, but just envisioning and having it. And even the London tail was quite an interesting one because they phoned up. There was a friend of mine that phoned and they were looking, it was quite a big client, and they were looking for the potential just to discuss security, or just, my friend had basically got me a 5-minute phone call with the procurement manager. And I said, I'll be down tomorrow morning. That's it. And we went down that morning, James and I, and we took it. We took the contract. And it was up against about 40 other companies. Wow. It was a really high profile, and that was the difference. Just like we said earlier, we could sit back and wait and see what happens, or we could just go for it, because there's no point talking on the phone, because then they've heard the pitch from 5, 10, 20 other companies. But what we did is we just went down there and we sold it, We're in there that morning, we were waiting for her to come in. And it was good. We had the chat, and and she was good. She didn't want normal sales chat, and it was good. It's the people that you are, and that's what differentiates you. And that's what you always have to remember. What differentiates you from the other person that's trying to do what you're doing, and any walk and anything that you do, any job, anything. And that was the difference. It was just about our characteristics and Scottish banter.
Taking the initiative and running with it. And
it worked. And like I said, it was something we're really proud of. And we just continued doing these things. So then we do so much, like I said, it's ad hoc, some of these things. From helping it with the George Clooney stuff, to the DiCaprio stuff, to the Hollywood stuff, to some of the other things where it could be like antiques, it could be diamonds. It's the variety, as well as all the, the bars and the clubs and, the other sort of license security, So it's just good, and you could be covering anything. It's fun, from boxing matches to, it is varied, and it's good. Yeah. And it's so much of the staff, of which we've got excellent staff as well. We must pay homage, because, you're only as good as the people you work with. Again, and that's why you want the retention of the good people, and that's why a lot of the folk that have worked with us have done for so many years, which is it's really good, So it's not just a name; it's a face, and and a name, and people you've built a relationship with, and that's really important. I think is building a rapport up with the people that you work with, to make any company successful,
And I think that's like, for a lot of people watching this, they're going to know and recognise the faces. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think, and for so many years as well, and I think that's a really important point, is that with so many different businesses, not just security, but there's such a big turnaround, and maybe even in security, such a big turnaround in staff.
Of course.
And you manage to keep the same staff for, well, I don't know what the longest member, but you know what I mean? I've been going out for 5-6 years, and it's the same faces I've seen. And,
Danny, one of the chaps. There's so many to mention, but Big Danny and I have worked. We find Danny here. We've worked there now since the MTV Awards, which is like 17 years ago. 17 years. And there's many other guys that have come and gone, and others that have still, huge retentions in double figures, which is excellent. It's great. It's great, and that's what you want, because everyone builds a rapport, so you can read off each other, and you can. There's nothing more reassuring than that when you come in and it's the same staff, and people again want that. If you come into your local place, it's nice to have the same person that's there, because they know everybody. They know how the system works. It's not just about filling jackets, as we used to say, because you want a good level, and it's keeping your customer service level, keeping your the talent, keeping the best that you have, so make the experience as good for everybody, and that's what the clients want. Clients want that as well, so they know how the system works, not having somebody fresh starting every single night that doesn't know who's the regulars. Everyone wants that. It's like Cheers. That's what you want.
Mm-hmm. No, it's good, because I feel like if I've ever come to the venues or whatnot, and you see it's so much better having a recognisable face, and you can you know the person, and you say hi to them on the way in.
You start to have a bit of banter with people coming in, and you said, the customer service, they're building up the rapport, and
folk feel welcome.
You become part of the venue, so people, when they want to come, they want to see.
Yeah, it's almost as part of the experience in a way. Of
course, and it stops the issues if there's issues when it comes in sometimes, because folk want to work together. So that's it. And unfortunately, any of these things, no one wants them, but these situations happen. You've got alcohol involved. People do sometimes, so it's nice when you've got a regular face you can go to and explain a situation, and folk that are sort of looking out for you. And that's what you want. Everyone wants everybody to have a nice time, No matter what anybody says, nobody wants dramas. Nobody wants it. So it's good. So now retention is really important for your staff. And again, it's how you treat them and how you go on, how you lead them. Crack on,
Absolutely. What about any? I know you're talking about reducing the dramas, but are there any dramas that are worthwhile mentioning that have happened?
I think. Listen, to be honest, I think that's for that's for another podcast. You watch what I say. No, that's for a different one. Listen, there's ones ultimately that there's anyone that's worked it for a long period of time has seen all sorts, like we said, from, it's crazy, and it becomes, I'm not saying it becomes second nature, but certainly, it's that is the reality of the job. Like I said, if you take some of these clients on and you're working, the bottom line is for as much as the pictures and the facade that it's all glorious, you're still the person that could be maimed, injured, killed when you're doing these things, and that's what you have to remember. It's fine looking after stuff, but someone comes in and wants to rob, steal, or do something, especially in this country, different countries, you're the person in between. So again, it's the risk is high, So I think sometimes it's folk think that it's they see that there's something, the glamour of that picture, that one picture you get, but the hours and hours of planning, or sometimes the threat levels that are high, in regards to it. So it's interesting, but yeah, there's been a few of there's still a lot, I think I'll put it in my book.
You should definitely write
for sure. There's a lot to be said, but yeah, we could fill up an hour doing that.
So bringing up to the current period that we're in, and we can talk about. Well, I wanted to mention Tyson Fury, because I think that's an interesting one, the heavyweight champion of the world, and he was sitting just in here, wasn't he? Just at the table, and you were
a lovely big guy, and a guy I've got so much time for, because he's such a humble chap. I think he's excellent, and so down to earth, and I just respect him in so many different ways. Apart from his boxing skills and his prowess, he cares for everybody, and I think that just comes across, and I also find it funny that he calls me Big Al when he's 6'9". I always find that funny as I'm looking up to him. It reminded me of Shaq O'Neal when I was out in Orlando, and we had a night bumped in and ended up having a sort of night out with him, and he's 7'1", and again, I just find it funny when folk call me Big Al when I'm literally have to look right up at him.
You had a night with Shaquille O'Neal.
Aye, that was like Big Shaq in Florida. We had some drinks with him in Orlando, so in downtown. And again, it was funny, but it just shows you how these things just happen to go, and we had the banter, and it's because it's strange, you're proud to be Scottish, and everybody everybody likes the banter, but it's the randomness, and we introduced from some of his team, but it was good, really good fun. But to get back to Tyson, he's great. He's an excellent guy. He's been a few times up here. He's really close friends with another friend of mine, but it's great, and his inspiration, and I look forward to him fighting AJ.
That'd be brilliant.
And winning.
Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury, that'd be a brilliant fight.
Definitely.
Both British as well.
It'd be excellent. As we know from doing a wee bit boxing and things, it's something that you can, it's great to watch, and when you sit with somebody, it would be the equivalent when I was younger, I sit with Mike Tyson. That's why I enjoy it so much, and that's what it was. I love it. You could listen to stories all night. That's what I like about Tyson Fury. Definitely. Top guy.
I think it's interesting, talking about all these celebrities, Hollywood or whatever it is. And I think the interesting thing is that you were willing to just take the experience, and that opportunity, whatever it was, you were willing to just accept it and take it on. And the age thing wasn't I'm too young to do this, I don't know.
Yeah, it wasn't a barrier.
Yeah, there was no barrier there.
To be honest, that was a challenge. I think back then, I always wanted to prove, and that's how you get to this level. You have to prove yourself, so you have to show, because somebody else will come and do it. That's the problem. If you don't do it, you step to the side, like we said earlier, then someone else will come and do it. And I always wanted to show we were the best at what we did. And get involved in it and just experience it, and that's it. Sometimes you can do stuff that's boring, and that's just a part, but you still, you'll gain some experience from it, but these particular events, individuals, I thoroughly enjoy it, because you're sitting there, like I said, you're looking at people that you've watched on TV, heard on radios, looked in magazines at, and you're sitting with them, they're just normal people, they're still human at the end of the day, and that's what I enjoy, and it's, I always set in the challenge, and you've just got to, I think otherwise, like we said, you get stagnant. And that's not the case. You've always got to push something,
Absolutely, yeah.
Fingers and pies, Mr. Kipling. You've got to.
So current times then, what's happening just now? What's all the projects you've got on now?
Well, we've also, like we said earlier, got Lion Share, the clothing range, which should come out soon. Pushing the security, pushing the training side of things, which we do as well. And some of the, martial art teachings we're going to be pushing a lot more of as well. The stuff I do, in a personal. Again, keep busy. It's something I really enjoy, So I really enjoy it. So again, I always feel, for me, sometimes people don't like a heavy workload, but I always feel I'm best if I've got lots on, and train as well as your own stuff. And I like to study a lot as well. So I study a lot of different things. I like to read a lot of folk consider boring books, but I love to study, especially the ancient stuff. So I enjoy that.
What kind of stuff? Tell me a bit more about the ancient stuff.
I like my particular thing. I love ancient civilizations and Greek philosophy. Something I'm very well into. I love history, but especially the ancients and the classics that was done in that period. So I find it quite fascinating. As soon as you lift up one book, you're reading another. So I'm doing some study stuff on, some different modules and diplomas and other certs and that. I can't get enough. It's almost it relaxes me, I quite enjoy it. It's a good way to switch off from other stuff, because you have to unwind. You can't go 100 miles an hour all the time, especially if you're not getting a chance to go for a beer. But it's good to just take your mind into something else and relaxes you. So that's it. Everyone's got their vice, and I love the reading.
Absolutely.
And their history.
You can get so much from the ancient stuff. I'm really into Stoicism just now.
Okay.
And reading all up about that, and that's changing my whole mindset on life. You can get so much out of these things.
Of course, it's important. You've got to have a place you can switch off and go to, and that's it. And encourages. And like I said, it's like we said before about having a challenge that goes getting the next one and having several challenges in the go. So it's good. The more you read, the more you want to read, and applicable. So it's I just, like I said, I find it fascinating. It's something I thoroughly enjoy reading over and boring folk with, not to listen.
No, but it's interesting because obviously a lot of people have, mental health is a massive topic just now, and people have got all these different problems and whatnot. But a lot of the things that these Greek philosophers were talking about, I don't know, thousands of years ago, are relevant now. If you know what I mean, these mindsets that you're talking about and whatnot. And I'm actually interested that they were already talking about this thousands of years ago.
Of course,
and it's almost relevant to now, today.
Listen, of course, human nature remains the same basic principles of it all, in different settings, and at the end of the day. But I think these. For me, like I said, it's a really good escapism, but it's something that you enjoy, and I think everybody's special mental health things, poetry books, other novels. If folk can immerse themselves in it, and that's it, and learn something. I think that's where it's good, because it's in depth and folk can relate to a lot of stuff, like you've said. There's never been more quotations on the social media now that you see, and so many of them come on our tapes from Ruby, Aristotle, Marcus Aurelius, Tennyson. There's so many different ones that come out. There's just, but that's generally when they come from.
It's not fiend for sure.
It's not folk. Folk aren't making them up. They're going back thousands of years, and that's it. Confucius, all the different ones, which it's great to enjoy it. So rather than just read the quote, I like to have the backdrop in so many of them, and that's what I enjoy reading. So you get the full history of it rather than just one paragraph of their stuff. I like reading the rest of their work. So. Yeah, like I said, I was in the gym the other day and I left one of my books on the bike and I went back. It was 2 days later to a different gym and it was still sitting there. So it must have been that boring. No one else wanted it. You don't have to worry about folks stealing your book.
If you were to give 3 things for some people who are listening to look up based on like philosophy and things that would be really applicable these days, especially during this time, what would they be?
3 individuals to look at. I think. Well, that's a great question. Who would it be that's relevant to them and not to me? Let me think. Simple things. In fact, I'll read you one in a second. One from there. It's actually a good one. A good poem which I like, which is it's an excellent by Yeats that I think is very applicable when it comes to dreams. I enjoy it. I love Aristotle's stuff. I like a lot of Aristotle and his stuff, and I love a lot of Confucius for his stuff. I know it's ancient Greece, but. I like, they're probably 2 the ones I like the most of stuff, without boring everybody with it. I think I'll read this little passage if you can, like it, see if I can find it. Okay, this is from W.B. Yeats, who's one of my, favourite poets, and it's called He Wishes for the Cloths of Heaven. That's the poem. Had I the heavens embroidered cloths, enwrought with golden and silver light, the blue and the dim and the dark cloths of night and light and the half-light, I would spread the cloths under your feet. But I, being poor, have only my dreams. I have spread my dreams under your feet. Tread softly, because you tread on my dreams.
Wonderful.
What's your interpretation of that?
I like it because at the end of the day, the dreams, like we said, for the visions, that's what he's talking about. Because it's not about being rich or poor, but the dreams, the visions are what's important. And you might show them, but like I said, don't be deterred by anything else, because in the day, these are my dreams I'm showing. So if you're not happy with them, don't have to criticise them. Don't slag them off. I says, they're my dreams and follow them. So be careful what you do, because this is my vision. It's my chance at life and I need to follow it. And that's the important things. It makes him the rich man for the cloths of heaven, because it's his dreams and his visions. And that's what's going to make him. That's what gives him that light when everything else around him is dark. I think that's something to remember for now, I think.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And then what would you say the second and third kind of mindset stuff is, or just advice for young people,
Listen, like we said, follow your visions, don't ever feel bad for dreaming large, or for for envisioning something or want to try something. Don't feel bad for having a go at it. Don't feel bad for stepping out with the box and attempting something. Like we said, don't fear failure, fear regret, So at the end of the day, go for it. Surround yourself with the right people and positive. And it's okay sometimes to have down days. It's okay to have things when your plans get knocked, but you just have to afterward dust yourself off and crack on with it again. That's the most important thing. Don't sit still because, life is short. We've got time, but push on with it, and get surrounded. Like I said, I can't say that enough. Surround yourself with individuals that bring out that sparkle in you, and that's what we need to do. If it's negativity, some folk are, that's fine, but don't let them tread in your dreams.
Yeah, that's good. Brilliant. So what's the end game for you then? What is the next 10? Maybe that's a difficult 10 or 20 years. Where do you want to?
I think to progress the businesses we're trying to push, to really push up the security to the, and our company, we've got some things looking at internationally as well, which we want to start pushing with some teaching, a lot of the teaching stuff, and really to push that up and push the other ventures, And again, just be the best version. Enjoy, like I've said, enjoy the journey, but get other things and, be the best version of ourselves, make the company the best it can be. And this is, really set ourselves new challenges, both, physical, mental, I suppose a bit of spiritual as well, and hopefully financial.
Definitely physical anyway. That's
I get the most of my gym memberships. How
many gym memberships have you got?
5. I keep getting told off in certain gyms. That's why I've got to keep varying, but I keep rotating. But no, it's good. And again, like anything, it's addictive. It's like business, it's like challenges, it's addictive, and that's what it's about. If you get into something you like, then push on for it, That's it, crack on. The more there's no harm, but 2 gyms, 3 gyms, I don't mind jumping across because you enjoy it. And that's what it is, it's a release, Some folk like smoking. I like to, like to do training, but it's the best in individuals that you meet and the buzz you get from that. But same with anything, embrace it. And that's something, you can't do. Just because you finish one course, go and do another course, One diploma, do another one. God, you train stuff, do whatever, if it excites you and it motivates you, crack on and do it. Like, especially at the moment when things are a wee bit like a wee more slightly bleaker and a bit darker, always look for that bit of light to lift you up, and that's
it's great that you still, you remain with that positivity. And it's like doing the things that you enjoy doing is what's elevating you to that level, which I think is brilliant.
Of course, listen, I put the drums hard at night time. My neighbours might not like it, like you said now, but it relaxes me and you do that, and it's just that random. It's great to be able to sit and just as a release. Don't feel bad to soak everything up in life. That's the most important things. Be all that you can be. That's it. Don't say I've done that. Because always, I say it's not just about challenging yourself, but do something you enjoy. Because several hobbies follow. And the same with work. If you really get into it, and you want to be the best of it, go for it. 100%. That's it. Like we said, it'll always bring good, good rewards and be good to other people. I think, and those round about you, reward us. It's the part. And then, like I we keep going back to it, but just enjoy the experience. Enjoy it. We're getting to sit here and there's some laughs, and you look back over these last 20 plus years and go, man, that's strange, because it goes in the blink of an eye.
Yeah.
When you're younger, you think, I can't wait to be a bit older. And when you're a bit older, you go, wait a second, that's quite unusual. Where's the time gone back? Because it just goes in the blink of an eye. And that's it. And you're standing there 1 minute with hair thinking, this is really cool. And the next minute you go, man, I used to have to brush my hair, and and use gel and hairspray and things.
Yeah.
So it's different. So no, just embrace it, especially at the moment. Hang whatever light you can find, just follow it. 100%.
I think that's really important, and we talk about this a lot. From the things we've been through, experiences, is that you only get one life, and that's it, and you need to because of that is the case. You just need to embrace it so much. And I think so many people waste their times with things, and obviously people have different issues and whatnot, but once you realize you've got one life, it's really when
you can't be judged. Like I said, you can't. There's no point in basing it on somebody else's opinions or somebody else's thoughts or processes, because that's not you. You can't sit at the end of the day before, we meet the great architect and go, well, I would have done this, I could have done this, I should have done that. That's not what I wanted. But he said, it doesn't make any difference then. The richest man in the world can't buy 1 second, Yeah. At the end of the day, you've got to claw it back. And so it's your experience. So make the most of it. It doesn't mean like party every single day just because you want it, but seek out what you make a plan for your life and seek out, but just enjoy it. Don't be afraid to try opportunities or try new things and crack on. Just don't sit still. Don't be the person, like we said before, that coulda, shoulda, and just is filled with regret at the end of it and wish they could have done stuff, because you can't get it back.
You can't buy time.
You can't, 100%.
Brilliant. Have you got anything else to add then? You are.
I'm pretty good. This has been
What an inspirational guy. That's
I just want to get up and start doing stuff.
No, listen, it's been good to talk. Listen, it's always good. And if you can bring just a little bit of sparkle to anybody or give them a little bit of motivation, and it's worth it. And the processes that maybe I've gone through that's led to that point, then they're all worth it. It's not all good, some negative, but that's what drives us all forward. You have to refine yourself, like we said. So if you can help somebody just a wee bit, give them a bit of motivation, because at the end of the day, come from a tiny small town, they walked in there, no bowling alleys, no cinemas, things like that. And then you can, arrive sitting in this beautiful capital city, reading history, doing a summer, sitting, spending the summer at Cambridge, doing all these different things, Always your oyster. That's the difference. And that's what, that's what I love. So you can achieve all these things and enjoy it and have such a blast along the way and surround yourself with people. So you're only limited by your own imagination, and that's it.
Incredible.
Brilliant.
Is there anywhere, you're a social man, is there anywhere anyone listening can find you online?
I'm not telling anyone for security reasons. And at the moment, most things are closed, so no, not at all, Maybe in Tiger, I've had a nice cup of tea, in Tiger.
There we go. You watch out, Big Al. Find them in Tiger.
Reading my book.
Brilliant. No, thanks for your time. That was brilliant.
Guys, perfect. Thank you. We'll forget something for it. Perfect.
Incredible. For all you listening, thank you for listening to the end of the show. If you can subscribe to us, give us a share if you enjoyed. You can find me and Chris on Instagram. You can find it in the show notes, and we'll see you on the next show.